Now, in just a minute, we're going to have sitting in this chair one of our newest jurors and one of our newest friends here at the Cliburn, and that's Fali Pavri. We're going to talk to him about several things relating to jury, relating to playing the piano and teaching in general. Please welcome Fali Pavri. Have a seat.
Hey,
How
hello.
are you?
Very
How
well,
are you
thank
holding up? How are you holding? It's a lot of music to be
Loving it,
listening
loving it.
to.
It's 2 marathon days.
Do you come to the U.S. very much? We just don't know you very well.
No,
we hope
well,
you
I
come
was,
more
I was
often.
in Ohio a year or so ago, playing at the composers kind of conference there, playing new music.
Interesting that you say that, because in reading your bio, you've done a lot of things, but one of the things you've done the most of is play a lot of new music.
Yes, I play a lot of contemporary music too. Yes.
How does that happen? Are you a fast learner? You can tell me. It's just us here. You
I
can
have
tell
to
me.
be a fast learner because I have such a complicated life.
Right, that
I
was
have very little time in my life, so because I've got a job, teaching job at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland. I also have 3 little kids. I've got a dog, a cat, a musician, a wife. So everything has to be condensed into kind of as efficient a way as possible.
Right, and when does the practicing get done with this full of life and 3 kids at home and a dog and a wife?
Well, it's very interesting that a lot of it is done at work in between
Students?
Some of it is done at night. I also have an electric keyboard I use, and I'm in the process of building a music studio in my garden.
Oh,
After
so you
which-
can practice in the middle of the night if you want to,
Yes.
and sleep not at all.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a very vital part of being a busy musician to be able to learn things quickly.
Absolutely.
and
Agree with
efficiently.
you.
So-
You've had such an interesting trajectory in your life. India to Moscow to London in your student years. How did all that come about?
What wasn't mentioned, and which I didn't mention, and actually is quite interesting in the context of this competition, is that before I went to Moscow, I actually did a bachelor's degree in chemistry.
Oh, so when did you, so
I did
you
a
fit
degree
that in somewhere?
Before I went to Moscow, coming from India, doing classical music was considered a kind of crazy thing to do, and I promised my dad that I'd have a
You'd do
degree to
something to
fall
make
back on
money,
in
right?
case things went pear-shaped. So, so I did that.
Did you always have in the back of your mind, though, this is a very interesting thing to talk about in this particular
Yeah, because
context.
in the context of all these competitors, they've done the opposite, because
Right.
they've had careers and taken up music as their passion. And in my case, I decided to do music as a career.
But you were studying all along the piano, even while you were getting a bachelor's degree in chemistry.
I was having
you were-
private lessons at the time. Yeah.
So after your bachelor's degree in chemistry, then you're 21 years old? something
No, I
like
was
that,
about 20.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's when I
And
went to
so
Moscow.
then off to Moscow. How did you choose Moscow? Or did it choose you?
Well, it was, again, one of these coincidences in life. I happened to be doing a piano competition in India, which I won. And we were sitting in the kind of room where the awards were going to happen. And I was talking to the girl who came second. And we were just chatting, saying, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm just about to finish my degree in chemistry. I have no idea what I'm going to do. And she said, well, I'm going to audition to go to Moscow. I said, oh, how do you do that? And it just turned out that there was an opening and the government was offering a scholarship. So I auditioned along with her. And we both got a scholarship to Moscow.
Oh, fantastic. And how long did you stay there?
7 years.
And did you speak a word of Russian when you arrived?
Very
or-
little, very little.
But you learned quickly, I guess.
Well, you had to,
You had
because
to.
everybody spoke Russian. And every day we used to have Russian lessons in the morning the first year. So
Wow. Okay, so Mumbai, Moscow, and then London.
Then
How
I
did
went
that
to London. I went to do a postgraduate at the Royal Academy with Christopher Elton, who's coming on the jury next year.
And has
for
been
them.
here
and
actually
has been
before
before
at the
yes, yes.
junior
And he's a very
competition.
close friend of mine.
So, okay, that was the connection there. How long did you stay in London?
Well, I
in the
studied
UK,
for
you
2
still are
years, and
there.
then I just stayed in London for quite a long time, and I started working. I got concerts. I got a few lucky breaks, and that's how it happened.
Well, those lucky breaks, one tends to have to be prepared for those lucky breaks, don't you think?
I guess so.
They don't
yeah,
just
yeah,
come if
yeah.
you're not
One of the
really prepared for them.
interesting sort of stories in my life was while I was still a student, actually, at the Academy in London, I heard from Zubin Mehta, who happens to be from India, that Rostropovich was planning to go to India to do a concert tour. And being young and foolhardy, I just decided I wanted to play with him. And I went to see him backstage after a concert, and I said, I spoke Russian, of course, so, and I said to him, if you're going to India, can I be your pianist? And he kind of looked a bit surprised, because he didn't know me, of course, and he said, all right, come and audition for me. So a few weeks later, I went and played for him backstage in the festival hall. And that was the end of it. I was very nervous and didn't play very well, I thought. But a few weeks later, I got a letter from him saying, everything's fine, everything's arranged, we're going to India. And
Wow.
we did 8-concert tour of India. So that was an amazing kind of
A
break.
seminal experience for a young guy.
Oh,
How old were you
fantastic.
by
I
then?
was in my kind of mid-20s.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it
A
was
fantastic time of life for that to
it
happen
was
too.
fantastic, yeah. And he was such a genius. You know.
He was, and so few people know that
Force of
Rostropovich
nature.
was a good pianist. Also,
amazing.
In his spare time, he played concerts with his wife.
Yes,
And
it's fantastic.
so forth.
I mean, he was just the kind of perfect all-round musician.
a lot of your work seems to have been done in concert, so to speak, with other musicians. You play with
Yeah.
violinists a lot.
Yes.
You have a cellist wife that you play with a
Yes.
lot, and you have a piano trio
I do.
of relatively recent vintage that you play with
Yes.
a lot. Did this just sort of happen in your life as well? That life took you in the collaborative direction a lot?
Well, it kind of goes in phases. I mean, for example, this year I've been playing quite a lot of piano concertos.
Notice
But,
that too.
And I like playing chamber music. It's a fun thing to do. It's a less lonely thing to do than sitting in the room practicing the piano on your own all the time.
Right.
And there's so much fantastic repertoire for it too. So
Absolutely.
That's a kind of passion of mine, and it's
I
nice to be able
noticed-
to play with friends.
I noticed that you did a Rachmaninoff Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini this
That's
year.
right. That's right. Twice.
And also you have a CD of Swiss piano or two CDs.
Two
of
CDs, yes,
Swiss
that's
piano.
right, yeah.
How did that happen? Did you
Well, that's
did
very
you call a
interesting
record
because,
company? Or
well, no, I
they
have a
call you?
long association with a company called Guild Records, which is based in Switzerland. And they approached me and they said they have this project playing the music of Folkmar Andre, who I'd never heard of in my life. And it turned out he was a very remarkable composer, wrote beautifully accessible romantic music. So I did first a CD of his playing some of his piano pieces and his violin sonata, and then they asked me if I could do the concerto. So I did that. And then another CD came after that of another concerto.
The same composer?
No, another Swiss.
Another Swiss composer.
Wiedmer and Bruno, all composers I've never heard of in my life. And-
Did you? Was it ever that you had a short time to get this music together and learned, or did they give you plenty of time?
No, it was a relatively short time, and actually the recordings were done in a remarkably short space of time.
It always
too.
seems to come up that way, doesn't it? For a recording,
Unfortunately,
we have this
yeah.
piece. Here it is. We would like you to do it in a month.
And so much is about money, you know. 'Cause,
Sure.
You know,
One
they want
session
to
with
take-
the orchestra
exactly,
or
yeah,
two
yeah. I mean,
sessions
especially
with
with
the
British orchestras are so good at sight reading and
Have
so
to be.
quick. You know, for example, the second concerto CD I did, the Swiss concertos, we did it in a day and a half, and the orchestra hadn't even seen the music.
Right. 3 sessions, 2 sessions.
3 sessions, it's incredible. They're so quick, so you have to be kind of ready.
Oh, they've had to be. British orchestras, UK
Yeah.
orchestras have made so much of their bread and butter by recording. They've sort
Absolutely.
of,
And that's why they do so many soundtracks and things, because they're so quick.
in the blood and bones of British orchestras is that ability, it seems,
Yeah.
to sight read perfectly the first time. Tell us a little bit about your teaching. How much of your time does that take? How many students do you have?
Well, I've sort of cut down. I used to do quite a lot, and now I do about 16 hours a week teaching.
That's
which
a
is
lot of
still
teaching
A lot of teaching, yes.
There's
But
a lot
I
of
try and-
giving
I
out.
try and exactly. It's very tiring. It's very you know, one-to-one teaching is a very kind of intense process, and it takes up a lot of energy.
What do your students want to do? Do they want to be soloists? Do they want to be chamber musicians? Do they want to cobble it all together like you have?
I'm very lucky because I have a very, very strong class at the moment, international students, and many of them are kind of on the verge of making quite good careers as soloists even. One of my students just won a very big international competition. Not as big as the Cliburn, but still he got 10,000 euros first prize, which
Good.
is pretty good. And another one also won another competition, which had a very big prize and lots of concerts. So a lot of them want to try at least to become soloists.
Right.
A lot of them kind of do what I do and do a mixture of a lot of different things. And some of them will probably end up doing something totally different at the end of it. Because
What about, what do you think about judging a competition like this, where it's an amateur competition? It's a little bit of a different animal,
it's
so to
absolutely
speak.
fascinating. I've never done anything like this before, and I find it really. I just wrote to some friends of mine today, and I said what a kind of joyful and also kind of humbling experience it is to see all these amazing people who have, you know, fantastic, rich lives doing all sorts of things, and yet somehow manage to find the time to devote
And the
to
inspiration to-
get pieces of such a difficulty to such a high standard. It's quite remarkable, really.
It
I'm
really
never
is.
again going to tell my students to complain about not having the time to,
Right.
to
There's never a
practice.
reason to complain after
Absolutely,
seeing
you know,
these people.
It's quite extraordinary what they do. So it's a remarkable competition. I'm so pleased to be here.
We're glad to have you, Fali
Thank you very
Pavri.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll have you again during
Thank
this
you very much.
competition.
Bye.